Hi, and welcome to The Credibility Gap. My name is Brita, and I'm your host. The Credibility Gap, the hole our leaders have fallen into by not standing up for our rights as citizens, and how we can help them climb out. First of all, if you've listened before, welcome back, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. We have a few housekeeping matters to take care of. Number one, thanks to all who have listened and made suggestions. You might notice the sound is different, hopefully better. On this episode, it was suggested that I actually find my podcast microphone and put it in a foam box. So this I have done, and I hope it's helping the sound quality. And yes, I do have a podcast microphone because I have another podcast. It's called the Loving Parent Podcast, and if you're into reparenting, you might want to check that out. Okay, second, thanks to a listener, I have put a sample letter to our leaders in the information box below the podcast. So you can check that out. You can copy it. You can tweak it. And I've also included a link to the list of all senators and representatives for the various states. You can use their contact form on their websites to contact them if you are in their state and or district for the representatives. Otherwise, that option is not available. You can copy and paste the letter into the little teeny tiny message space they have there. It looks like it'll never fit, but trust me, it does. So you can do that, and the rest of them you're going to have to snail mail. And I encourage you to mail representatives from your party as well as the opposing party. We need everybody's help if we're going to stop this authoritarian gambit that our president has started. Okay, number three. A number of our leaders have said that they're going to resign at the end of their terms. While this is in some ways heartening and in other ways disheartening, because we're going to lose some really neat people, but maybe people who need to go, who are in their 80s. It leaves room for new people to come in, and I don't think that's ever a terrible thing. So because they're leaving, that gives them an exceptional opportunity to stand up for us, to make noise, to be as obnoxious in standing up for our rights as they want to be. That's their job, and now they can do it with impunity. Okay, that's the housekeeping, so let's get on with this episode. This episode is on the word woke. Weak and woke. That's what Representative Alyssa Slotkin, Democrat of Michigan, said about the Democrats. She said we need to drop that. Quit being weak and woke. No. Democrats need to embrace the word woke. I mean, how about woke and welcoming? Woke and willing? Woke and wise? Woke and working? There are so many ways we can use the word woke, and once you understand what it means, you'll see why we need to embrace it and not hide from it. Woke just means you give a damn about other people. That's what Jane Fonda said as she accepted her Lifetime Achievement Award a couple of months ago at the SAG-AFTRA ceremony. I'm going to repeat it. Woke just means you give a damn about other people. Doesn't that sound like the golden rule? Treat other people the way I want to be treated? If that's true, why would our leaders hide from the term woke? I'm telling them to get comfortable with it and embrace it. Earn back some of your credibility. So I think it's important that we define woke here. I found two main vernacular meanings for woke. Part 1 of the Woke podcast will deal with the first meaning. We'll deal with the rest of it in the next podcast, which will be Woke Part 2. The first meaning of woke is aware. This meaning started in the Black culture. It meant aware of reality, aware of your culture. Stay woke was the phrase as it originally came about. It's thought that this started about the time of the LA riots, when 4 police officers were acquitted for the beating of Rodney King, which was caught on video. The city just erupted, and whether you think that was right or wrong is neither here nor there. But that's where Black Lives Matter probably started, and that's where the term woke came to shift to its meaning of being aware of social justice issues. I don't know why anybody would have trouble with that meaning, being aware of social justice issues. I think the social justice meaning is problematic for some folks. Let me just say it, some white folks. Because they have issues around Black Lives Matter. The movement stands for bringing awareness and elimination of racism and unfair racial practices and policies toward Black people. Some white people fear that that will mean Black folks will get more fairness than they do. Doesn't this sound absurd? It does to me. It sounds like privilege to me, actually. Privilege means having an advantage for who you are. That is because you're white, you're male, you're American, you're educated, you're young, you're old, you're talented. These are advantages that you didn't necessarily earn. You got them because of the caste or class you were born into and the advantages you had as you were growing up. People often see privilege and fear losing it if they have it. We're losing our white culture, some people have said. Equality or parity, seen from privilege, feels like oppression. This is one of my favorite sayings, and I use it a lot. In other words, if I am privileged and somebody else wants to become equal to me, it feels like I'm being oppressed, like my privilege is going to be taken away from me. Folks, there's enough privilege to go around. Everybody can have their share. But an example of this would be men resisting women being brought up to an equal hourly pay, even though they're not going to get raises as that happens. So women will eventually end up with the same hourly rate as men, and many men resist this because they think, well, she's getting a raise, why shouldn't I get a raise? And they don't want to look at the privilege that they've had for the last, I don't know how many millennia, in various cultures. Not every culture, but various cultures. White people fearing that Black people will take over their neighborhoods and that when they move in, to find a safer place for their kids to go to school and to play. Some people fearing that celebrating another culture's holidays will mean celebrating less from their own culture. That's pretty silly. Celebrate as many holidays as you want. Hasn't Cinco de Mayo been incorporated into most American communities? I'll bet a lot of people had parties a couple of days ago on Cinco de Mayo. Also, people fearing that their children will marry and procreate outside of the family culture and thereby dilute their racial purity. Now, that sounds awful when I say it that way, and most people wouldn't say it that way, but really that's what they mean. I have news for everybody. As far as I can tell from the research, we all, the human race, started off Black. People have different amounts of melanin in their skin based on where their ancestors migrated and how much melanin they needed to protect them from the sun. Because dark genes are dominant, dark eyes, dark skin, dark hair, we all will eventually end up brown. Now, this may take several more thousand years. We may not even get there because of climate change. The world may spit us out and go on without us. But if we do make it that long, we will all end up various shades of brown. That's just Mendelian genetics. That's the way it is. You can bitch about it all you want, but that's what we're going to have. So one of the best examples of the differences between equality and parity is the game of golf. Golfers have all different levels of skill, and yet they play games with one another. And you would think that would be really boring for the good golfers and really frustrating for the bad golfers, but no. They have a whole system set up for that called handicaps. So using the golfer's past scores and an algorithm, each golfer is assigned a number of strokes to make their score on par parity with the average golfer, and that average golfer score is also computed. So if you have a handicap of 15 and you're playing with an average golfer, a handicap of 0, then you can deduct 15 points from your final score because you're going to take a lot more strokes to get to the end of the game. You just won't play as well as the average golfer. This allows players of two different skill levels to enjoy a fair and fun game. That's the very definition of parity. Pro golfers, who are considered equal when playing each other, have 0 handicaps, so they don't get to deduct points. You don't see them all doing that on the news in whispers, deducting points from their scores. No, that is equality. They are equal because of their lessons, their practice, their time in the game. So parity comes about when people have not had equal time, equal lessons, equal advantages in golf, and they are given a handicap score. Equality is when they have had equal time, and they are equal and they play on an equal playing field. Affirmative action programs were an attempt at school and in the workplace to produce parity, but they were usually based on race, which didn't give a full picture of the competition. Other criteria such as personal disabilities, family income, family education level, number of disabled family members, even one's zip code could have become better indicators. However, the algorithms must also be carefully designed, as the criminal justice system has recently found out. If the right variables, all those things I mentioned, disabilities, income, zip code, if the right variables aren't used, or there is bias in the algorithm, in other words, the people writing the algorithm have a bias toward one group or one calculation variable or another, that can creep in even if they don't know it. And then the algorithm will be faulty. So that means there will not be parity between offenders. And I know people who have been plugged into these algorithms and either got advantages because their qualifications were not in the algorithm, or disadvantages because some of their qualifications were. That may be fair, it may not be, but we need to be very careful about how we do this. So if you go back to the idea of people being afraid that another group, another racial group, another income group, another ethnicity might have more parity than they do, Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, parity is fairness. Fair is fair. Parity is parity. Equal is equal. So if we make an effort to make sure that everybody has parity, then we're all getting the same rights. This is so important to understand, and I realize there's a lot to it. So if you need to listen to this episode again, please do. It's really important that we start understanding this and educating other people about what parity is. That's the woke of awareness. We have to be aware of who has parity and who doesn't, who has privilege and who doesn't. What are some of your privileges? Mine was I was the eldest child in the family of two eldest children. We were all white. I had educational advantages. I lived in neighborhoods in good homes. We owned our home. We were accumulating wealth. Not a lot, but some, better than some people did. I was given piano lessons, and it turned out I was a pretty talented musician. I was allowed to do after-school activities, many of which I succeeded at. My mother was our Brownie leader and our Girl Scout leader. So she was involved in my life, not just at home, but in after-school activities. Those gave me privilege. The people who didn't get those advantages, who were born black or brown, maybe were born into a single-parent household, either the mom or the dad, because it can be either one. Maybe they lived in a neighborhood that wasn't safe for them to go out and play. Their school wasn't safe. They were constantly on guard. It's very hard to learn when you're constantly on guard. It just shuts down parts of the brain that could be taking in information that's important. So as you think about this, kind of acknowledge the parity that you have, the privilege that you have, and what it might take for other people you know to be brought up to parity with you. What advantages might we need to give them or their children in order for them to be able to compete at the same level that we do? That is the awareness that we have as being woke. Woke people know when they have privilege, and they work to help other people have that privilege. Woke just means you give a damn about other people. And the more we understand, the more we can give a damn. Thank you, Jane Fonda, for that wonderful quote. Next episode will be part 2 of woke, the second meaning of woke. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is. I hope you'll join me for that one. I thank you for listening. Please subscribe, hit the notification button, leave a review if you can. That really helps. And please tell your friends. You can click on this episode and hit that share or send button and send them this episode. You can send them the entire podcast if you click on share this podcast. So that's the easiest way that we can get the message out here. It's so important that we learn about this credibility gap and help our leaders climb out of it before it's too late. Thanks again for listening.